Evening sunshines. Actually, it's moonshines. I'm so tired. It was a long day. It was a long, trying day. Um, it's been a long, trying weekend. I didn't get on last night. I didn't record last night because I was tired after my day moving furniture at my parents'. That was a strange thing. Um, moving furniture at my parents' house. I haven't been over there. I haven't been over their house in a while. And so, I think, well, we went there on Christmas, and my mom has just had surgery. And so she's healing from the surgery. She had an organ removed. And so it's a pretty major surgery. And she told us, no, I don't remember who it was, but when we were sitting there, me and the kids went there for Christmas Eve, and one or the other of them told us that they had separate bedrooms now, and we're like, okay, and I think we were all just assuming it was because mom's healing, and she's been sick and she's getting better, and maybe she just needs to have that that piece of not having to share a bed with somebody and tossing and turning or whatever. And she might toss and turn, and so it might be for dad. And so so I think we were all just assuming that it was just like a temporary thing. And so anyways, they I had gone over after Christmas to scrub their floors for them, and I told them, like, if you guys need anything, just let me know and I will be there. And so I hadn't heard anything from him. I hadn't heard anything from him. I'm like, hey, do you need help with anything? Well, I don't know. My dad's like, well, we like to think we're capable adults. And I'm like, okay, well, if you need help, I'm just saying, if you need help, then let me know. And so they called me last week, or my mom called me last week, and she's like, hey, is there any way we can get you to take, I mean, no, first she was like, well, we've thought of something that we need help with. We want to move some dressers from one room to the other room and some other things. Do you think you can come help us with that? And I was like, yeah, let me know when I'm available. And so she called me this week, and she was like, hey, dad needs to go get an MRI. And I think that's the same time that my nurse is coming to come to take care of me. She has a visiting nurse that comes and takes care of her, cleans her wound and stuff like that. And she talks about having tunnels in her abdomen. And I'm just like, I don't want to hear about your tunnels today, mom, but that's okay. Poor mom. And so, anyways, and I don't really want her driving right now. I just am not comfortable with her driving right now. And dad should not drive, especially that far. They live in Aurora, and I had to take him to Franklin and I don't know, 23rd and Franklin, around that area. If you're familiar with Denver, it's not, I mean, as the crow flies, it's not that far. I don't know. I just don't want them driving that far. I think that they're aware of their limitations, which is why they called me. And so, I went and I picked my dad up, and that was so much fun. I decided, okay, well, since I'm going out there to take dad to get an MRI, I'm just going to go ahead and move the furniture around while I'm out there. Let's just kill two fucking birds with one stone. Because, I have a busy life. I have grandkids, I have kids, I have a job that's pretty full time. And, so and I'm so more than happy to help them out. And so I went out and picked him up and took him to his MRI. And he's the worst backseat driver. He's like the poster boy for backseat drivers. He is the worst backseat driver. First, I'm like, well, I'm going to go ahead and just, do you mind if I take I-70? I don't want to have to take Colfax. I just want to get on the highway and get there. Well, where are we going to go? What street are you going to take from I-70? I'm like, I'm just going to go Colorado. He's like, I don't like Colorado. I'm like, I do. I was like, we'll be fine. So we got on the highway, got on 225 to get to I-70, and he's just meh, 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 meh. I'm like, Dad. I finally was like, shut up. So we get there to his MRI, and then we stop and get Firehouse subs um, after we I like this song. After we got done at the MRI, we stopped and got stopped no didn't we stopped and got Firehouse subs, and he's like, well, how about we go this way? And he's having me get, and I haven't been out, I haven't driven, and Firehouse is like on Colfax and Potomac, or around that area, and I haven't. So he's like, go ahead and get off on Peoria. And Peoria is like, back in my day, back when I was driving on Peoria, it was much different. I was like, what the fuck happened? Dad was like, Candace. I'm like, what happened? So we get to he's like, we get to like Colfax and Peoria, and he's like, I was supposed to get in this one lane, and I was supposed to get in the lane on Colfax, and I was like, is this a turn lane? And he's like, yep. And it wasn't. It was a going straight lane. I'm like, no, I don't think it is, Dad. I think it's a turn lane. It's like, no, it's not. I'm like, I don't think it's a turn lane. He's like, yes, it is. I'm like, no, I think you just have to keep going straight on. I think you have to keep going south on Peoria. He's like, no, you don't. And I'm like, so we get up to it, and I mean, and there's no way we can get over in the turn lane. And he's like, oh, it's not. I'm like, I know. He's like, well, the next street's going to be better anyway. So we go up to the next street, and I turn on the next street, and he's like, okay, turn here. And I'm like, okay. So I turn there, and it takes me back to Colfax. And so he keeps having me get over in the far right lane. He's like, it's going to be up here. And it wasn't. It was like 3 times, not up there. I was like, oh my goodness gracious. I should just put it in Google Maps and found my own way and told him, shut up. I told him to shut up one time. And we get sandwiches, and we get back to their house, and then we start moving furniture, and I moved so many dressers. And we fixed a mirror and put virus software on my dad's computer and set my mom up on Instagram, and it was a busy day. And I left about 5 o'clock, and yeah, I came home and laid down and watched Outlander for the rest of the night. But I guess it's a permanent thing that mom and dad don't have, and their own, that they now have their own bedrooms. It's permanent. It's all good, Um, and then I felt like I almost felt like it was pretty traumatic. I almost felt like they were getting a divorce or something. Because, mom's like, I didn't know it was permanent. I didn't know that. I thought it was temporary. I thought him just moving into the extra room was temporary. And I'm like, oh, well. She's like, and she said it a couple times. First time, she was like, I thought that as soon as I got better, he was going to move back in. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And then the second time, she was like, I thought it was temporary. And then we were talking about getting new mattresses, and I thought that as soon as we got the new mattresses, he would move back in. And she's like, I guess I was wrong. I'm like, yeah, I thought that you guys were just when we were telling us about it at Christmas, I just thought you guys were, I thought it was temporary too. I didn't know that it was permanent, I guess, that happens in older people's lives. I can't even call them elderly. I don't feel like they're elderly. It's weird. When I say shit like that, I have to deal with my own mortality. But so, I was like, she was sad. I could sense she was sad. And I almost felt like I said, they were getting a divorce. And then they're sitting there like fighting about who's going to get the better TV in their rooms and stuff like that. And I was like, and then who's going to get the Roku stick? And I was like, you guys, this is very traumatizing. I feel like you guys are getting a divorce. They're like, no, it's not like that. I'm like, well, that's what it feels like. Stop. Decide who gets the better TV after I leave. So that's all good. It's fine. That happens to parents all the time. Parents do that kind of shit all the time. Whatever's going to make them happy and keep them from killing each other, I think is good. It's good. I'm going to, I tell them, give me a call if you need anything. I'm not going to be moving furniture for a while, but if you need anything, give me a call. And I hope they do. They better give me a call. And so anyways, and then today, this is just one more story. This is a DoorDash story. And then I will let you guys go. Thank you for listening. I'm so tired tonight. So I'm like doing DoorDash this morning. I'm in an amazing mood. I was in an amazing mood. I woke up and I did my meditation and it was wonderful and I felt wonderful afterwards. And, me and the dogs were all having a good old time partying. I'm giving them treats. We're all dancing in the kitchen, just, and unload the dishwasher, finish up my laundry, get out on the road doing DoorDash. I get some pretty good orders and, I get this double order at Mod Market, which was fucking amazing. And they were not, the houses were not that far apart from each other. And I'm like, right on, and so I'm like, I get to Mod Market and I get out of the car and I'm walking to the restaurant and somebody honks. And so I turn around because it was like a couple honks. It's like honk, honk, honk. And so I don't see anything. I'm the only other person over there, So I'm like, so I look behind me and there's this guy and he's like waving at me. I'm like, I'm like watching this guy trying to figure out who the fuck he was. And there's this pothole in front of me. And I step in. I didn't even know it was coming up. And I step in it. I twist the shit out of my left ankle. And I go down on the ground fucking hard. Man, I jacked up my elbow. I jacked up my hip. I pulled like the muscles in my rib area and my tricep. And my left ankle is so twisted. I was mad. I'm like sitting there just like rocking back and forth, hauling my ankle because that's the first thing that hurts. I'm just like, the tears are just just like they're like being just like already pouring from my eyes, and I'm like, I'm like, what the fuck? Why? This guy freaks out. He comes out like, or he's like running across the parking lot. He's like, oh my god, are you okay? I'm just glaring at this fucking guy. I was like, why'd you honk? And he's wanting to diffuse things. He's trying to diffuse things because he's like, he's like, this bitch is gonna sue me and she's pissed and she's in pain and hell have no fury. He's dealing with all that shit. And I'm like rocking back and forth and he's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, take a deep breath. And I'm like, just like on the verge of sobbing. He's like, take a deep breath. Take it easy. Go slow. I'm just glaring at him. And this couple comes out of Mod Market and they're like, oh my god, are you okay? And my phone's across the parking lot. She picks it up and brings it over to me. And I'm just like crying. And he's like, she fell. The guy that distracted me is like, she fell. I just glare at him. And I'm like, why did you honk at me? And so the couple that come out of the restaurant, they're like, let us help you up. And so they're all like three helping me up. I feel like such a dumb fuck. And then I'm like, you stupid guy. And I'm in pain. And he's like, are you ready to get up? And I'm like, why did you honk at me? And he's like, I thought I knew you. I'm like, do you know me? And he's like, no, I don't know you. I'm like, I thought so. I'm like, don't honk at people. So, oh my gosh, I was in so much pain. And I had these two fucking orders from Mod Market. So I go in and I get the orders from Mod Market and I'm like, like limping back to my car. I'm just like crying all the way back. I'm like, why did this happen? Why? I'm in a great frame of mind. I'm like in a great vibrational state. I'm not now, but I was. Why did you want to mess up my vibrational state? I'm trying to find some kind of philosophical, like some bigger reason why I had to trip and fall, and I just could not come up with a fucking thing. I'm like, I'm not dwelling in bad places. I'm feeling pretty good about my day, and my listening music. I'm not music. My listening material. I'm listening to Abraham Hicks, and I always call him Marilyn Hicks for some reason. My friend, every time we talk about it, she just laughs. She's like, I get tickled when you call him when you call them Marilyn. I'm like, I don't know why you do that. So, anyways, um, yeah, I'm like walking back to my car with these two Mod Market orders, and throughout the next so many minutes, I would say 45 hour afterwards, I mean, just slowly, every body part that was affected started to let me know very like vigorously how much they were affected. They're like, hit elbow over here and a lot of pain. Don't lean on it too much, no. Oh yeah, and then my triceps starts letting me know, and I'm like, oh. So I came home and I got some ibuprofen and Tylenol and an ice bag and put it on my ankle and came home, and Stormy's like, why are you limping? I tell her, she's like, bathtub, Epsom salt, sit. I was like, okay. And I did. Had some of her yummy stew. She made stew last night. Had some of it tonight. Amazing, amazing stew. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching, her stew is the best stew I've ever had in my life. So good. The beef was all tender and like, how you just like I don't know, I love chunky stew from like back in the day. Chunky stew, it's kind of like a guilty pleasure. And so it's kind of like, how the meat in that's like super tender, and you just kind of like, and it just kind of like, it's probably because it's been like so fucked with, but no, that's how her meat was. And it wasn't fucked with, it was just cooked in the slow cooker. Good stew, and the potatoes were perfect, the carrots, everything just perfect. Holy cow, it was a good stew. But anyways, that was my last 2 days. I'm gonna lay here and watch Outlander and go to sleep and hope that my ankle and the rest of my body doesn't keep me up too much. But you guys have a great night. I hope you had an amazing weekend, and I love you, and don't forget to live abundantly.